Want to chime in on what's happening with your favorite KFAN program? Well, make your voice heard on the Brad, Shaw, and Brian text line. Let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That's 64686. Standard message and data rates apply.
Double 13-14 pastime common. He is 10 of B. Hour number 2 begins with 5, 3, 4.
Time now for 5 questions.
Correct.
Well, actually 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4. Question number 1.
It's now time to take an in-depth look at the welfare of the wolves.
The Wolves, without Naz Reid and Rudy Gobert, got spanked by a 76ers team without Joel Embiid and Paul George. 135-108 last night at Target Center. Tyrese Maxey scored 39 points for Philadelphia. Anthony Edwards had 28 for the Wolves, but he also committed 7 turnovers. Common, what sticks out to you from last night's Wolves loss?
Well, I didn't watch it again, as you know. It just doesn't do anything for me. I'm not going to make an effort to watch if the team 90% of the time doesn't make an effort to play hard, and they did it again last night. Particularly Edwards. We'll get to Suan's piece a little bit later. He's basically he watched it, and it sounds like he summed it up. There's a one line he writes in his column, and he says, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's basically like he's just playing like he's entertaining on. It's like just like it's playground basketball, and there's just not a feeling of urgency or anything with how he plays half the time, and the team itself. And it's even when Gobert called the team out, and then I think the next game they played just as bad. Then they played one good game before the break, and then they're back at it again. It's just. And God, I just get so tired of it's just, and there's enough talent on the club, and I suppose once they get to postseason play, maybe they'll just flip the switch, and maybe they can. Maybe they'll make another deep run and get to the Western Conference playoffs, or maybe take it a step further this time. But it's just, it's insulting to the ticket buyers. It's no respect for the game itself or the league. It's awful, is what it is. Sorry, that's all I feel.
Question number 2.
What is question 2?
All right, Common, now that the Winter Olympics are over, what was your favorite moment of the 2026 Winter Olympics?
When it ended. As soon as they said, I saw on my handheld computer that doubles as a communication device. It was breaking news. The flame has been extinguished. And I said, hallelujah. Now we have 4 years where we don't have to worry about it. I suppose, for me, I talked about this last week about not being able to endure much more heartbreak. The tough parts were Lindsey Vonn crashing early on in the Olympics. Yeah. The quad god. And then the tough one really was, tend to be the Peterson sisters at one time looked like they were going to be playing for the gold medal. They don't even get a bronze out of it. So that was really tough. That was they're friends of the program, and that was pretty disappointing to see that happen for them. But I guess the gold medal for and again, I love the figure skating stuff, and United States, by all accounts, people thought they should have won, but we had the French judge basically scored the French couples, and this was in ice dancing, scored them like 8 points higher than anybody else did, any of the other judges. So the fix was kind of in there. But I suppose the gold medal, winning the Hughes getting his teeth knocked out. Those are probably my highlights for me. And the save that I'm a goalie guy. There's the Hellebuck, the save he made with it was just spectacular. So how about you? Do you have a favorite moment?
I mean, clearly I'm a hockey guy, and the hockey was good, right? The women, you kind of knew it was going to be Canada and USA, but it ended up being a great final game that went into overtime. USA had to score late to force overtime. And then even before USA-Canada, I mean, there were some really good games. You know, USA had to beat Sweden in overtime just to even get to the semis. Canada had Czech Republic take them to overtime in the quarterfinals. So there was a bunch of good games leading up to what everyone was hoping would happen would be USA versus Canada. And then I think that game clearly didn't disappoint yesterday. So the hockey was as good as it gets. I hope the NHL now has learned that we don't need to be skipping Olympics in the future. Let take your 2 or 3 weeks off and interrupt your season, because Olympic hockey, especially once you get to USA versus Canada, it's the best hockey around. It's the most skilled hockey. It's the fastest pace. It's the most intense. Put that on a spotlight for the entire world and even the country to see.
I don't know. I could argue with you a little bit there, because I sure thought Hill Murray versus.
Well, I wasn't comparing the two, but
I'm saying that was
as good as it gets.
That's as good as it gets.
Yeah,
for me. Hill Murray
high school hockey is pretty good too.
Centennial's Springway Park.
Question number 3.
Oh, what's going on there?
Also, Mike Tannenbaum of ESPN, they were kind of doing a segment on some big trades they would like to see happen.
Okay.
And he suggested that the Lions should make a trade with the Cleveland Browns to acquire Myles Garrett. So my question for you, Common, would you be for or against your favorite squad acquiring Myles Garrett?
Oh, yeah. How couldn't you? Wasn't he the Defensive Player of the Year? Didn't he just set the National Football League record for sacks in a season? Lions they've got, Hutchinson's really good, but he's really off. I mean, they have a couple of other guys they rotated at edge rusher that are, on the other side that are okay. They're competent. They're not embarrassing. They're NFL players, but it's like they have to win more one-on-one battles because Hutch gets doubled up a lot. If you would bring Myles Garrett, and then it's the old pick your poison. The only problem with Detroit, and I brought up this quote during the season. They asked Danny Campbell about, man, you've had to, extend a lot of players, and you have others you have to extend. And he goes, well, we'll just keep spending money until we run out. And I think they're about to run out. So I don't even know how
That's the anti-pull-out take.
Yeah.
Approach.
I don't know how they how they would even afford that. But, and I know. Do I remember this correctly? Before the season started or early, wasn't Garrett saying he didn't want to play there anymore? He wanted out. And the Browns just said, well, too bad. We're not trading you. You're too good. Yeah. And so I don't know if he still wants out. I mean, guys.
I think he got paid last.
But so he probably got paid. But guys do after a while, especially when you're on that level. You got the wine, the women, the song, and the money. Wine, women, song, and money. What you want is a ship. And
I think he's getting up there in age too.
Yeah, and winning one in Cleveland, I don't know. Didn't they just get rid of Stefanski? Was he their coach? He's gone. So you're almost back to ground zero.
What's their quarterback situation moving? Are they going with Shedeur Sanders next year?
Well, I wanted to ask you about that. Maybe we'll talk about that later since we got more time, because I'm reminded of Shedeur by the preposterous statement quote from. Is it Perkins? Who's the guy that said he's the
Kendrick Perkins?
Yeah. That's worth getting into. Anyway, yeah. I'd trade for him.
Question number 3. And now it's time to go in the trenches.
NFL Competition Committee co-chairman Rich McKay said yesterday that he is not anticipating an attempt to ban the tush push this year. 1 year after debate over the short yardage play roiled the NFL, McKay said, quote, "There's no team proposal that I've seen from it, so I wouldn't envision it, but you never know." ESPN's Adam Schefter reported in September that there was no assurances of reviving the tush push debate in 2026, as sources cited the vitriol of last year's discussions and the eventual failure to garner enough support for a change. Common, where are you at currently in regards to the tush push?
should turn my mic on. I've been sort of neutral. I've been Switzerland on it because I don't know. I don't think it's a cool play, but it works. And just because it works, should they not be able to do it? I mean, I understand the arguments for banning it. I think you'd like to see it banned. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a rugby play. It doesn't feel like a football play. And it's not just the tush push for me. It's any play in which the ball carrier is being pushed.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how many times do you see a running back run into like 3 defensive players and they're holding them up, and then all of a sudden 2 offensive linemen come running in. It's just a big scrum pushing back and forth. It's like the running back didn't even earn those yards. You get pushed an extra 4 yards.
And you even see that now when like a receiver or a running back way downfield, the lineman will come running and just pile on and try to push them.
Well, they should do it more, given apparently it's in the rules. It used to not be in the rules.
Yeah. I remember when we talked about this before, and I think you disagreed with me, and you're probably right. I just thought you would see teams trying to accidentally fall into guys, when they're falling them on purpose, but they're making it look like they fell into them or got pushed into them by an opposing player. Yeah. And then how do you judge that? I don't know. Didn't they have some trouble with the tush push later in the year? Didn't a couple of teams figure something out?
It seemed like the success rate wasn't as much, which might be why it's not going to have a proposal this year.
So maybe teams are figuring it out. I don't know.
And that's it for today's edition of 5 Questions. Well, actually, 3 questions, but 5 sounds like more than 4.
All right, we're about to get really controversial.
That's interesting.
Yes, Vikings News, other side of the break. Talk a little Wolves, Wild, and other topics as well. This is the Common Man program along with Tenna B right here on The Fan.
Join Meat Sauce and Miller Lite at Dave's Town Club in Delano this Thursday from 5 to 7. Stop by for drink specials, games, and register for a chance to win a spot in the Vikings Foundation Golf Tournament. Get the full details now at KFAN.com, keyword golf.
Double 13-14 pass, Common Man program. My oldest son, Deuce, who I created from my loins, sent me a couple of text messages. First one was earlier in the day. He was on his way into the office, and he said he was listening to the Power Trip Morning Show. Deuce likes reliving the 8th grade every morning as well. He said, quote, Muss just said he heave-cried watching the U.S. hockey win the gold medal yesterday. I didn't even heave cry when I broke even par for the first shot, even par better my first time. I would heave cry from an Olympic hockey game. To me is a bit of a stretch, and I don't even believe he really did. I think he decided to go. Do you think that Mike Mussman, in his living room watching it, heave cried? I mean, that's not just tearing up. That's like basically he says he was sobbing and blubbering. I don't believe it.
Maybe he was embellishing with the heave cry part, right? Like,
did you tear up?
Like, I'll post on social media all the time, like something that makes me emotional. I'll write heave cry, but I'm not actually. I'm not like struggling to breathe while I'm crying. I don't know how you can't get emotional with the actual goal being scored did not make me emotional. The actual game did not make me emotional, but when after the game, I don't know if you know the backstory or not, but. Johnny Gaudreau, also known as Johnny Hockey, was an American hockey player.
Yeah, he and his brother were killed
by a drunk driver.
Riding bikes in New Jersey.
So Johnny could have very well been on this team. And
they were skating around the rink with his jersey.
So they're skating around the rink. The part that really got me is 2 of the players, Dylan Larkin and Zach Wawrinski, went into the stands, grabbed their 2 kids, who are like 2 and 4 years old, right?
Yeah.
And brought them out onto the rink with the 13 jersey to get the team picture taken. And I don't know how you can't get a little emotional seeing that.
I see you could, sir.
Yeah. I mean, I got a little watery-eyed at that point as well. So I'm guessing that's the part he was talking about, not the actual.
Okay.
Not just them winning the gold and winning in hockey.
Next, Adu said, he thinks the Shedeur saying it feels like going to jail after falling in the draft to the Browns is his favorite preposterous statement. I love it too. And what I wanted to ask you about that, though, there was a time, leading up to the draft. I mean, during the college football season, his last season before he entered into the draft, or maybe it was before the season started, wasn't he considered to be a first-round draft pick, and he plummeted all
Not only
the way
that,
to the
there was talk of him going top 2 at one
right.
point.
And then he
2 overall behind Cam Ward.
He plummeted all the way to 5th.
Yes, fifth round. Yeah.
I'm not 5th round. Now I'm not paying as close attention to Shedeur Sanders or Colorado Buffalo football as I once did, or even the NFL draft. Do you recall why did he plummet so far? Did he have off-field issues? Because I don't remember any.
I don't think he had like any off-field issues in terms of, like breaking the law or anything. Right. I think the questions with him is maybe the personality, the ego. I'm not sure. He should not have dropped to the 5th round. To me, that was, especially with some of the quarterbacks. I mean, Cleveland took a quarterback before him.
Yeah.
They took Dylan Gabriel, I think, in the 3rd round. And Dylan Gabriel was not the prospect Shedeur Sanders was. So I don't know if there was worries about Dion and just kind of the sideshow that comes along with Shedeur. I don't know. It was kind of messed up, in my opinion, that he dropped to the 5th round. I can see not taking him 2 overall, but
late in the season, he got a chance to play. And did he? He played pretty well, did he not?
I think he played okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, in other words...
Okay enough where he might be their starter this year.
That's it. So, in other words, maybe he was overlooked for whatever reasons. When you dropped to the 5th round, when you were considered maybe, top of the 1st round pick, they're obviously... The only thing I can think is there were maybe some questions about dedication to the craft or whatever the case may be. Because remember with Kyler Murray, he had to have it put in his NFL contract. And did he claim that wasn't really put in there? Was that all made up? And basically, you can't play video games.
They went back on it. Yeah, I think they ended up covering for it.
Yeah, exactly. But for me, and again, I watched. There was all this big buildup. You're a big Dion guy.
Yeah.
And everybody was excited, and they're thinking Dion's the best. And, now I think that Dion might be the greatest coach ever to coach the game. I think that's maybe going away a little bit because, they had a good season, then they had a bad season. I think last year they were okay. But I think sometimes, at least it is for me, with Sanders, I wasn't sure... And I didn't watch enough of I watched Colorado Buffalo football when they had the really bad year because of all the build up to it, right? And you and I were going back and forth about it, so I thought, well, maybe I should watch. And I from what I remembered, I wasn't really impressed with how he played. I mean, he wasn't awful, but he just really wasn't like some spectacular quarterback, at least from what I remember. And I always sort of kind of get the feeling that maybe he's a little overrated because of the name, right? Is it because he's Dion's kid? Because, oftentimes, it's a word I'm looking for. It's the extra pet. It's like, who is it? Arch Manning? He's playing football for, who is he playing for now? He's
Tennessee? Or no,
no, the old man played for Tennessee, or his uncle, or whoever it was.
Yeah, who's he playing for?
LSU. I don't know who he's playing for. I guess Ole Miss. I don't remember who it was. Doesn't really matter. But Texas.
Yeah, I was going to say Texas.
So there is added pressure when you've got that name, right? It's all of a sudden, and you look throughout all the sports, right? All of them, all the men's major for any sport where you have a father or a mother or an uncle or a brother or sister that was elite at the game, then all of a sudden there's extra eyes on you, and it's all of a sudden, the only reason you're really doing this is because, like I joke when Arch Manning started out the season just awful this past year, right?
Yeah.
And I had
people love to pile on him.
Yeah. Well, then
they never would have piled on him if his name was Johnson.
Correct. Well, and then I thought maybe sometimes I think kids, siblings or kids, whatever, they're pushed into something just because, well, you're supposed to, right? Your dad was like Marvis Frazier, Smoking Joe Frazier. You know Joe Frazier, right? The fighter, right?
Yeah.
Thrill Manila, all that. His son Marvis became a fighter, and he was okay. I mean, he was really nothing more than maybe a notch above a good club fighter. And you wonder if he was just like, well, I guess I'm supposed to fight because my dad did. So you're almost like, well, this is just my calling in life, even though I really have no interest in it and I'm really not that good, but I'm supposed to follow in my father's footsteps. And I was thinking that. I say this to Deuce. I think I said it on the radio earlier in the year. You and I were talking about Archman. I'm thinking maybe he's thinking to himself, I don't even want to play football. I want to work in the theater. I want to do something I don't even really want to play, but because my name's Manning and Archman and grandfather and then Peyton and then Eli all were pro quarters, I'm supposed to play, and maybe he doesn't want to. But then I think his season got much better as it went by. But
I will say just my theory. I think most kids of elite athletes, just my experience with hockey, the elite athletes don't push their kids to do it that much. It's usually the athletes that are still trying to live vicariously through because they didn't get there in their career. Those are usually the parents that kind of over push their kids more so than the elite athlete. That's just my experience with hockey. I can't speak for football, but I don't think Arch. Now his dad wasn't Peyton or Eli. It's the third one.
Correct.
But.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. I think there's something to that because, the quad god, I think both his mother and father were figure skaters too. And the story that I read leading up to the Olympics is they never pushed him. He wanted to do it. It was him. He saw that, he knew the success they had, thought it was cool, and he wanted to follow in there. I guess it'd be footsteps. You put your feet in a skate. He wanted to continue to build a family legacy, but apparently his parents never pushed him and said, "Here, you got to do figure skate. It's the greatest thing ever." So, anyway, there you go. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk some Wolves and Wild. Other side of the break. Common Man program right here on the Fan.
Never miss your chance to know what the latest sports news is in town. Chances to win tickets and knowing what's going on with all your favorite KFAN shows. Follow KFAN 1003 on all of our social channels like Instagram, TikTok, and X now. Stay connected and follow the sports leader, KFAN.
Couple 13-14 past Common Man program. I'm Common. He's 10 to be. I don't think we talked about. We were talking during 534 about the Timberwolves and just another awful loss to a terrible team in a terrible city with terrible fans in a terrible stadium. Seemed like another one of those games, a lack of effort. By the way, Gobert got it's. The association is just so... Every guy never commits of it. You know how Gobert... If you watch the Gobert flagrant foul, it's intentional. He intentionally slams the guy with the back of his hands. Oh, it was just accidental. I fell into him. And, of course, he and the coach say... And it happens to Gobert all the time, and he never gets the calls. Of course, Rudy Gobert would never, ever consider... taking it a little too far in a fight. He's always misunderstood. It's always by accident when he's called. And, of course, anytime he gets hit, well, it should be a foul. Do they think anybody believes any of that nonsense? So they've just, again, they've picked up where they left off before the All-Star break. Just, one game they play okay, the next game they play awful. But during the NBA All-Star weekend, Ant was caught on camera telling Atlanta Hawks player Jalen Johnson that he, quote, can't wait to come home.
You've got to be kidding me.
This fueled speculation about a potential future move to his hometown team of Atlanta. Edwards dismissed the rumors, saying that he's happy in Minnesota, was just having a conversation with a friend. Edwards addressed the rumors. He said, I don't think there's nothing to clear up. It wasn't too much, just a conversation. I'm happy where I'm at. He's under a long-term deal with the Timberwolves. Do you think there's anything to it, Tenneby? Or do you think when he said come home, just can't wait till the end of the season and hang out at home, or do you think he would like to play for the Atlanta Hawks?
You know, when I first saw the video of him saying it, my assumption was maybe he's just talking about can't wait to come home next time we get to play at Atlanta or something like that, right? But then the way he defended it did not make me feel very confident. That then made me think maybe he does want to play for the Atlanta Hawks and live there.
Well, I don't know.
Ant says a lot of crazy things sometimes too, but
and I don't know how complicated it is. I mean, players have demanded to be traded before. You know, it's happened. I don't remember when they redid his deal, but he's like,
I think he's got a couple of years.
Yeah, so it's like, look,
his contract runs through 2028, 2029.
I don't see how the franchise. It would not only would it'd be a public relations disaster, PR disaster, if they were to trade him to Atlanta. Like, let's say he, you know, as the next year or so goes by, he makes it known, at least to the organization, I want out. I want to go play in Atlanta. You got to get me there. He's next to Garnett. Is he the best player we've ever had? Who was the PST that said Kevin Love's the best player the Wolves have ever had? I guess next.
I think Ant's the best player we've ever had. I'd put him over Garnett.
Yeah, and you could put him over Garnett. But you could make an argument for either player. So your best player, your second best player in franchise history, just won the All-Star MVP. He's certainly a top 10 player in the league. And when he puts his mind to it and really plays hard, start to finish, defense and everything, he could be even a top five player. And then it would just be disastrous to the team, right? Because you just have to have. I don't know if maybe somebody can remind me, at least not in recent vintage, that I can remember, a team that just had, they didn't really have a superstar. They just had, they had 5 good starters and a decent bench, and they won a world championship. It just doesn't happen, right? You have to have a Kobe Bryant, you have to have a Michael Jordan, you got to have a Shaq Diesel O'Neal. You got to have a SGA, you got to have a Joker, and then you have to have more than that, but you have to have a number one guy, right? And I don't know if Ant were to leave, who would be the Wolves' number one guy? It would be probably Julius Randle, and he's not. He's a really good player, but I just don't put him in the same category. And then if you're Ant, I guess I understand people wanting to play for their hometown team, right? If that's the area you grew up in, it makes sense.
Like the weather better?
Yeah, like the weather. That's where you grew up. You got your friends, your family living in that area. And so, so again, it's nothing I think is going to be, and he may very well have just been conversation with a friend, but I don't know how you interpret it as anything other than where he said, I can't wait to come home. And that could be, can't wait to come home. And when the season's over.
Christmas.
For Christmas or whatever the case may be. I don't, maybe for Easter, whatever. I don't know, but.
Well, he said, I can't wait to come home. And then he started talking about the nice pieces that were on the roster. It's like, I got a couple of nice wings there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would make you believe that maybe that's what he'd want to do. Because let's face it, when you're the NBA, all these leagues tend to be, it's kind of like modern day slavery, where you're You're forced to play. You might not even want to play there, but you're forced. And then you know what they can do at any time? They can just say, hey, we're trading you. We don't want you anymore. And they can send you to some other outback. So I don't know. It certainly is something to keep an eye on. Now, regarding last night's game, Jim Souhan, esteemed columnist, Fish Wrap Factory West Side, wrote a piece today where the headline was basically, the Timberwolves need more from Anthony Edwards. Says that the 24-year-old really wants to win an NBA title. Minnesota needs to start demanding more from his teammates and himself. And, you know, and he prefaces all of it, his summation till he gets to his point, is that he's brilliant, right? He just is. We know that. He's a great player. But it says, if you watch the 76ers win over the Wolves, you didn't see an MVP candidate. Talk about, he's been in the MVP conversation, right, for this season. You saw Edwards failing to contest three-point shots, committing 7 turnovers, getting dunked on by 76er star Tyrese Maxey, who stared down Edwards after the play and finished with 39 points. 76ers are a bad team, missing 2 of their best players in Embiid and George. Now, and the Wolves did play without Gobert in Reed as well. It says, then the Wolves began the game failing to contest three-point shots, turning the ball over and playing without intensity. Edwards looked not like the leader of a contending team, but a talented athlete showing off in the playground. I think that's the way he approaches it. And I think a lot of it, he's not alone there. I think a lot of guys, that's how they play the game. I don't think a lot of these players across the league take their craft seriously until they really have to, right? And when they really have to, they've determined is when they're playing another team that they think is on the same level as they are. And you're at least considering playoff positioning, what seed you want to be in, and just to sort of kind of flex your muscles and send a message that we're better than you. And if we meet you in the playoffs somewhere down the line, be it in the quarterfinals, semifinals, or in the conference championship game, guess what? You can't beat us. And it seems like that's when they decide they want to play. And then when they're playing skip teams, as Buckets used to call them, they just go through the motion, play, showing off and playing playground basketball is really the best way to put it. And, I know I talk about this often. I know people probably grow weary of it. I don't know how the people that are Wolves fans, they don't grow weary of the performance of the team. I forget about me complaining about it. I don't know how you can watch this and kind of accept this. And I guess you just have to accept that if you like the league and you like the NBA, this is what you're going to get, right? Yeah. You're never going to get. You just have to take your chances on when your best players are going to play at their best and when they're even going to play at all. Now. Gobert, I think he was serving a suspension because of the flagrant, and I think Reed is legitimately hurt. But we know what happens all the time where guys just take it's what do they call it again? It's when they take a day and night off.
Load management.
Load management. They do load management days, and it's like okay, and you have teams in the league. See, and that's why I think it goes beyond. I know the NBA's talked about load management before and how they're not in favor of it. But at the All-Star break, you had the commissioner talking about the big problem is tanking. And I think it is. I think there's a problem with tanking teams. And you and I discussed it last week. I can make an argument for tanking, and I can make an argument against it. I understand why teams say we got to have that player. Maybe not the players on the team itself, but the coach who's coaching for his livelihood, general manager who's coaching for his livelihood. They're coaching for their jobs, and they're like, we can't win with the roster we have. We don't have a star. We don't have a Durant in his prime. We don't have a Steph in his prime, a LeBron. We don't have a Doncic. We don't have an Anthony Edwards. We don't have a Joker. We don't have an SGA. We don't have those guys. And you got to get a guy like that. And the only way you really can get that guy generally is at the top of the draft. Now, I know Joker was like the 40th pick overall. It's astonishing. That just doesn't happen very often. But you generally got to get a guy in the top 1, 2, 3. You might be able to go down to 5 and find a guy. But so the only way to do it is to tank it, but then now the league loses credibility because people that buy tickets are going, are they even really, are we just watching an exhibition game, basically one team that might still be trying to win because, hey, guess what? We're still in the playoffs. We have a chance to win a championship this year. And the team that's tanking is not even really giving an effort. You got, the players that are playing, the bench players are probably playing hard, but they pull starters. They don't play guys. But I think it goes beyond that. The load management stuff. The league has just got an effort problem, I think. It's just, there were some quotes from Barkley I dug up. Now they're about a year or so old, but Barkley was saying the same thing. Chuck's not the be all and all. We all love him. We love Chuck and Kenny, the Jet, and Shaq and Ernie on their NBA Today show. It's great. I love it, or whatever it's called. And I've said this 13, 14 times. I'd rather listen to them talk basketball than I'd actually like to watch basketball. And so, again, Barkley's not the final say on this. But like he said, he just doesn't think it's like it was back when he played. The players, because the money's so good and because they can pretty much do whatever they want, they're at the team, the GMs and the coaches are at the whims and fancies of the players. And so you just don't see the concerted effort night in and night out. And I don't buy that. That's a long season, so you got to pace yourself. It's not like it's a marathon, not a sprint. And if you're a marathon runner, I've never run a marathon before, to me, but I remember when my lovely wife Potato, myself, and baby brother Peter ran in the Breath of Hope Lung Foundation 5K. That's about 3 miles, right? It was over by Lake Nokomis, or I don't remember what lake it was on. Maybe it was, I think it was Nokomis. Or it could have been the one that used to be called Calhoun, and now it's Badikaduka. I can't say it. But anyway, Pete was, 8 years old, something like that, 8, 9, 10, 6, 7. And he decided, he was just going to run as fast as he could right out of the gate. And he was just going to run for 3 miles and win the race, right? And so as I started being the veteran 5Ker that I am, I'd never run one either. I just started out going slow. I just wanted to make the 5K. Yeah. Raising money, okay? Pete thought he could win, and he took off, and I could just see him, and all of a sudden he was out of sight. He was leading everybody. He was in first place. And then as he told me later, all of a sudden people just started passing him and passing him. So, you got to pace yourself when you're running a distance run. You don't have to pace yourself in the NBA. We've talked about you got 3 or 4 games a week, and you got the accommodations and travel and everything else is so good. But and
we've talked about it before. What would be best for the league, and not just the NBA? I would even say the NHL. I would even say Major League Baseball. And I know there's going to be hardcores out there that disagree with this, and that the league will never do this. They should all have shorter seasons.
Yeah, they should.
What makes the NFL great is every game is so meaningful.
Yep.
Right? In baseball, it's as meaningless as every game's as meaningless as it gets. Right? After you get past that first week, opening day, and you have your home opener, then it's just, you lose a game in a series, it's not a big deal. You can overcome that very easily. And even basketball and hockey, to a certain extent, 82 games is a lot. You make that a 50-game season, and I get it. They're never going to do it because financially, they're not going to get the same TV money. And then the players' contracts get smaller. They're not going to want to do it. But it would be a better product.
I'm not paying as close attention to the NHL or NBA as I once did. Back in the olden days, back when it was the original 6, they didn't play 82 games, did they? Has it always been an 82-game schedule?
And they're going to go to 84 in the NHL, which, why?
I guess 2 more gates.
Well, that's why. I know that's why,
I know. That would be the only reason why. But it makes no sense. And I don't know. I mean, the NFL forever was, I think the NFL at one time was 12 games. Then it went to 14. It was at 14 forever. Then it jumped to 16 for I don't know how many years it was, 20.
It looks like during the original 6 era, NHL teams played a 50-game schedule initially, then it increased to 60, then finally to a 70-game regular season, which was for most of the era until expansion in 1967.
70 seems to be about right, doesn't it? You and I have always reflected back on, it was the strike-shortened year for the NBA where it was 50 games.
I loved it.
Well, because every game, you can't lose 3 or 4. You can't take a game off.
Yeah.
You take a game off, you're doomed when you only have 50 games. But then that would be that there would, advertisers aren't going to spend as much money, and we know the reasons why. It's all about the money. But but I don't think they'll ever go back. Baby brother Peter sent me a text. Let's shift it to another sport and about. This isn't quite the same, but he said, do you think they'll ever make the players a fifth major? It's considered the unofficial fifth major, right? The players. And I don't think they would officially ever make it a fifth major, because then it changes what the Grand Slam of golf is. First of all, Grand Slam means 4. But now it would be like, well, so now if you have another major, that means to do the career Grand Slam, you have to win 5. And then is it retroactive? You have to go back and look at Tiger Woods win the Players, which he did, so he would be 1.
And the amount of majors they'd win from here on out wouldn't mean as much because you had more opportunities.
That's exactly right. So
what's the fascination in golf of wanting to have a fifth major? Why do we need to have one?
You don't.
We're good with 4. Why do we need a fifth?
Yeah. Did you watch any of the golf yesterday?
No.
The kid, I tweeted this out. I ripped the Bridgman kid for ruining the tournament for the rest of us, for the viewing public, right? He had I think it was a 6-7 shot lead going into the final round. He got it up to 7 at one point, Tenneby, and then he was playing alongside McIlroy. And then Kitty was playing in front of him. Kitty I call him Kitty. We got a good vibe. They was playing like one group ahead, or maybe it was 2 groups. And Kitty ends up shooting a 64. And the Bridgman kid, he's the guy that was out on at Pebble Beach the week before, where he hit it down on the ocean beach. And he held up the final group. Morikawa was trying to hit an approach and make birdie to win the event, first time in 2.5, 3 years. And they got to wait like 20 minutes as this guy's playing it off the beach, hitting the retaining wall, then having to take a drop, et cetera, et cetera. But the Bridgman guy wins, but he went from a 7-shot lead to, he's got a par 18, or it's going to be a playoff with Kitayama. And then McIlroy bombs in from the fringe. He knocks in about a 40, 50-foot putt for birdie. He also gets to 17. So it's going to be a 3-way playoff if Bridgman doesn't make his par. He had a great drive, great second shot. He's got, it looks like 10, 12 feet uphill. He leaves it 3 feet short, and the crowd just, and you can hear the murmur. And it's like, I thought for sure the dude was going to let it get away. He makes the 3-footer to win by 1. And they were talking to him afterwards, right after the tournament ended. It was refreshing to hear him basically say, Amanda, I can't remember her last name. She does all the interviews after the round with the players. And she asked him about, was he nervous? Talk about that. But he goes, well, I got really nervous when I got to 16. He said he had to make a 2-putt for a bogey on 16, and his par putt. He was in a bunker. He hit it. He didn't. I think they determined that he had to go away from the hole way deep, A, to make sure he got out, and 2, because he was close to the lip. But he lags down, goes by, makes that one. He said he was so nervous on the last 2 holes he couldn't feel his hands.
That's not good.
Well, he just said, I couldn't feel my hands. All I did was, he goes, I just swung at the putt hoping that it would be close. That's all he did. So he was being honest, because, he'd never won before on tour, right? And he made the last putt, and he drilled it. But, yeah, so, right, they don't do it in golf either. They always talk about the fifth major. I do like the players. I used to kind of just roll my eyes, shrug my shoulders, and shake my head, because it's one of those Florida courses that seems pretty flat, but it's a TPC, and they've made it it's laid out real nice. Even on a fairly flat piece of land, and of course you can carve out a pretty nice golf course if you got the right architect. And then they have the 17th, the par 3, which a little gimmicky, right? They just made, let's just put a big island in the middle of this pond. So it's not even, but of course they're moving earth on all these holes, so they're all got some gimmick. There's some gimmetry. Is that a word? Gimmickiness to them. But I always thought that was a little too much, that hole. And they're only hitting a wedge or a 9 at most into that green. So you would think they'd all be able to hit it, but we see them bounce off all the time and go off. But nevertheless, I've got a number of text messages coming in that I think we need to get to. A couple of other Olympic notes as well, and maybe get tennis thoughts on the Wild as they. You say it was Thursday?
Thursday, Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, is that here or there?
At Colorado.
Now think about this.
And McCarr and McKinnon are going to be pissed.
Yeah, and then how many Wild players were in the Olympics?
Total, man, was it like 8, 9, or 10
They have
around
to-
there? But 3 on the gold medal team.
Jet lag, circadian rhythm, time zone from Italy, and then they've got to go to Colorado, another flight, and they've got elevation change.
Our goalies
there.
are back already, Volstev and Gustafsson.
We've got
They lost in the quarters.
we got some real issues. Let's just say that. Let's take a break and come back with more. It's the Common Man program along with 10 of B right here on the Fan.